The Crypt interviews in association with Mayo Leisure Point Castle Bar.
You're listening to The Crypt, and my very special guest today is John Schneider, who you will all know as Bo Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard and Jonathan Kent in Smallville. So thanks very much for taking the time to come on the show today, John.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, John, it's a very exciting week for you because your brand new horror comedy Smothered is released on March 29th. You both wrote and directed the movie, so can you talk about the plot of the movie and how you came up with the idea for this unique storyline?
Sure. It's an unusual horror film. It's a horror comedy, like you said, but it's not a spoof, which makes it, I think, stand apart from the crowd.
Yeah.
Years ago, I had the notion that it was about time that a bunch of horror men in masks got killed by the beautiful blonde college co-ed rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
I thought for years it was her turn.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out. I don't like going to the movies and watching and going, "Oh, come on, that would never happen." So my chore was to try to figure out why in the world a bunch of horror icons would get in a Winnebago and go camping for the weekend. And I happened to be in Dusseldorf, Germany, doing a Monster Con a number of years ago, and it wasn't going well for a couple of my horror friends. So I said to Richard Brooker, who's since passed away, I said, "Richard, if somebody offered you $1,000 to go haunt an RV park this weekend and get out of here, would you do it?" And he said, "You bet." He said other words than that, but he basically said, "You bet," because I'll be lucky to make $100 here this weekend. So then I said, "Do you think you could get 5-6 other horror icons to join you?" And he said, "Yes, I could." So that's where the notion of horror icons having a bad Monster Con get hired to go haunt an RV park for the weekend for $1,000 each, which is actually a ruse to get them to be all at the bottom of a lonely hill by a lake so that they could be killed one at a time by the beautiful blonde, albeit sinister and crazy, Dee Dee. And she's named Dee Dee because of
Double D.
Because of her chest. Because of her chest, yeah. And she uses these wonderful things to kill people on occasion, to smother them, and that's where the title Smothered came from.
Oh, I love it. You have an amazing cast,
right?
Including you've Kane Hodder, Ori Milehoff, Bill Moseley, John Shanks, Michael Berryman, to name but a few. Was it easy getting all those on board?
It actually was. I had known Kane for a long time, so I sent it to Kane first. Kane read it and said, "I love this. It's like you've been sitting in my pocket for the last couple of years. Would you mind if I helped you cast it?" And I said, "Oh, help me cast it. I'd love for you to cast it." So he called up Don Shanks. He called up R.A. I knew Malcolm already. Malcolm and I have been friends for a long time. So between the two of us, we put together this group of folks who really fell in love with the script, because no one ever writes about that part of our career, about the Comic Cons from the other side of the table. So it was really rewarding to hear Kane and Don and R.A. respond so favorably to the screenplay. So we got together, and a couple of casting things kind of got shifted around, and about a month after I finished writing it, we were filming it. It was a quick turnaround. So I'm excited. Someone has called it a love letter to the horror fan.
Oh, fantastic!
Because when we're in the Monster Cons, in this it's called Voodoo Con because it takes place in Baton Rouge. We have the fans there too, and the crazy fans that dress like I don't call him Jason in this. I call him Mason. I don't call anybody Teddy. I call them Fred. I'm sorry, I don't call them Freddy. I call them Teddy. But we have the delightfully crazy fans that dress up like R.A. We have the ones that insist that you sign with a blue Sharpie so it can be authenticated. We have the ones that wait outside in the alley so that they can get an autograph and a picture for free because they're too expensive inside.
Yeah.
And we've got all those folks. So it's really terrific.
So you're really showing the true experience of a convention there.
Yeah, we really are. And I don't think anybody's really gone in there before.
No, it's definitely a first.
So it's quite delightful, and it comes out this next week, and I'm jazzed. It's on Comcast, it's on iTunes, Warner's has it, DirecTV has it. So we live in a world now where video on demand is really where it's at.
Exactly.
I'm hoping to get a theatrical release for Smothered as well, and that'll depend upon how well it does video on demand. So those are the places it's going to be: Comcast, iTunes, Warner's, DirecTV. You can buy the DVD at Family Video, which I'm not really sure why it's at Family Video, because even though Kane Hodder is playing a romantic lead, imagine that.
I know.
The language is still quite base. So if you're thinking this is going to be a warm and fuzzy Smallville kind of a John Schneider movie, think again. It's not that. So please don't show your 13-year-old Smothered until you've seen it. Yeah, it's going to be at Hastings. It's going to be at Blockbuster. It'll be available on Amazon. So it's pretty much everywhere. If you on Schneider's Smothered, you'll find it. Yeah, so I'm excited.
And I believe you also play a small part in the movie yourself?
Well, I do, because Roddy Piper was supposed to come and do the film, but the schedules didn't work out, and now sadly we've lost Roddy. He's been a friend of mine for decades. He and I were workout partners when he did John Carpenter's They Live way back when. So I put him in this, and then he couldn't make it, so I play a part. Michael Berryman and I are the hits of the con in the beginning of the movie, because anybody that goes to these knows that there's always somebody that's doing much better than anyone else. And then if you've been to them for a number of years, like I have, you know that you may have the front end cap table, the primo spot one year, and then your movie is replaced by somebody else. So the following year, you're going to be back by the bathroom and the fire extinguisher, and that's what happens to Michael Berryman and I. So we're bells of the ball to begin with, and then at the end, we're lamenting Kane's success. So,
and I'm sure Kane loved that.
Oh, he did, yes. And we created a brand new character for Kane. Now at the end of the movie, he's a new character. I won't divulge why, but he's a new character called Striper. And he's got the hit movie of the con at the end of the movie, so it's pretty cool. It's very true to form, very true to form, especially with regard to the con experience.
Well, also with the movie, you stuck with practical special effects, which I love. What made you make that decision? Well,
I'm not a fan of doing things in the movies that can't be done live.
Yeah,
it can't be done. I don't. I mean, occasionally we'll use CGI just because it's safer to use a CGI muzzle flash than it is to have blanks on the set anymore. So I don't use CGI. There's a wonderful company in Baton Rouge called Composite Effects. They built all the arms and the legs and all the different things we kill people in very interesting ways in this movie. Okay. So the only time in Smothered we CGI'd a couple of movie posters, and we do in fact have CGI ants. I won't tell you why, but I'm also not a fan of telling an actress that I want red ants to crawl all over her face. So I wouldn't want them on mine either. So that's the only time we use CGI. Coming from the world of Dukes of Hazzard, most of the time, except for 1 year where Warner Brothers lost their minds, every time you saw the general lead jump, there was a stuntman in the car or a stunt woman in the car, and I think it just looks better.
Yeah, I agree.
Looks better, and then they did miniatures for a while, and it looked really silly because they started doing things that couldn't be done. So in Smothered, you'll see very effects that will make you cringe because they could happen.
Also, you bought the location where Smothered was shot, and that is now John Schneider Studios. Can you tell me about the facility and your future plans for it?
Yes, we have shot personally 4 movies here since Smothered. Other folks, there's been 10 films shot here in the last 3 years, probably 5 or 6 different commercials. It's 68 acres on a river with a lake and a swamp. All the buildings you see in Smothered where they go to haunt the RV park are buildings that are on the studio property. We have 2 sound stages, 6 buildings that we shoot different things in outside. I'm trying to make it the go-to place for independent filmmakers really all over the world. It's a completely self-contained, we have editing facilities, sound stages. It's a self-contained independent film mecca. No one will bother you here. You can sit at the barbecue and have a story conference while your editor is working. You can build a fire in the fireplace and figure out what you're going to do tomorrow. It's very much like movie camp.
It sounds awesome.
If you're into room service, no, this is not for you. But if you are into completely immersing yourself in what you are doing and focusing 1,000%, then John Schneider Studios is what you want.
So will the movies we see coming from John Schneider be in the kind of horror / psychological thriller genres?
They will be, yeah, they're all psychological dramas. As far as horror goes, we're going to do one more, I would say, slasher horror movie this year. That's called One for the Money. If Smothered does well, there are bookends of Smothered. The prequel of Smothered is called Suffered, and the third of the Smothered installment would be the story of Kane, which will be called Striper, like the character that he winds up creating at the end of the movie. Big plans here.
And then where can people follow you on social media to keep up with all these projects?
Go to thejohnschneider.com. It's got to be the, because somebody else got johnschneider.com. So thejohnschneider.com, or next time you're on Facebook, go to John Schneider Studios and you'll see all kinds of information. It's great. It's a terrific world we live in right now where you and I can be talking so far apart, and people next week can, with a click of a button, wind up seeing a movie that we shot here in my backyard. It's pretty amazing times.
It's fantastic because you can get the word out there so much further nowadays.
Oh yeah. So I have great hopes for Smothered. Everybody who's listening, I hope you buy it. I really do. I want you to buy it. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. There's a big difference in Smothered also because you actually care about the people who are meeting their untimely end. So there's a lot of humanity in Smothered that I don't think appears in you don't think of humanity when you think of a horror film.
Yeah.
And this one has quite a bit of it. Kane did such a wonderful job, and Malcolm and Don and Bill. It's R.A. They're really tremendous.
Well, I'm really looking forward to reviewing it this week. And John, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show today.
You're so very welcome. Thanks for taking your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for helping me get the word out.
The Crypt interviews in association with Mayo Leisure Point Castle Bar.